of infested swarm-eggs that he used. But now, focusing on game number 2. Starting to our bottom left of Neoplanet S, we have SOS, the player for the Shooting Stars. And to the top right is opponent. In game 1, not successful, SK Telecom T1's S2.
Yes.
That's a tongue twister.
Nicely done. I would have messed that up.
Just dodged that one. It's your turn in game 3 if you have one.
Alright. I'm suddenly an SOS fan. Makes a pylon in the main base. That's a bit odd.
Yeah. With the pylon in the main base, now you have several options. You could go for the Forge in the main base, which will enable you to... first of all, against an early pool, you don't really need to scout, because if you see the early pool a little bit later, you can build the cannon in the main base, you're going to be fine. You have the position where you can hide your upgrades, but you can also just start with a gateway and then have a much faster attack and the potential to be aggressive.
Yes. I'm wondering what he's going to do, because on this map, I mean, he's ahead. This is the answer gateway. And I could see a one gateway sentry expand, but you know the choke point here is a little bit wide. He could even go for something really weird and aggressive like a 4-gate. I don't think we'll see that on this map, but the third base is really far away.
I would actually love to see that.
Yeah, if he doesn't scout with a drone, he's not going to know about this for a really long time. Then his build's going to be a little bit off if he doesn't have gas. And then he's like, ah, wait, you have a gateway in the main, now what do I do? Do I make a third? Because what if you attack me with multiple gateways?
You always think that a 4-gate would be a little bit silly, that it's not really something that could work, but with those timings that are not expected anymore by Zerg players, it's really surprising how effective these builds can be, especially if you scout and see that your opponent is taking a few risks here. So that's something that can definitely work, but first of all, it's pretty unlikely though. Yeah. On the other hand, SOS now with his tech a lot faster, and as you realize, S2, not with the drone scout, only with the Overlord, that suddenly looks at the natural and is like, well, there's no Nexus, and you don't have a Forge.
He immediately takes a gas, because he's like, well, I'm not taking that third, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if he takes the third, he's asking for death.
Yeah, that's the right choice here, taking the gas, because you know that your opponent is going for one base play so far, so he has the fast attack, and your first thought process is, well, if there's going to be a gateway attack, I need speed. If I don't have speed, then I'm in a lot of trouble.
And you know, this is so awkward because his gas is even later than you would want to have a 2-base tech. That's why on a map like this, if you've studied your opponent's play and you know that he doesn't drone scout often on this map, then you get an advantage inherently. And now he's going to make the Nexus. This actually looks like a one gateway expanded Pross versus Terran the way he's playing. And I mean, now we're just going to see him add sentries most likely after that Stalker, additional gates, add a wall.
It's also funny because if you actually decide to go for an early, third base, and your opponent is going for this build, he doesn't have the gateways to stop you. You will have suddenly so many lava that you can just overwhelm him. And you can throw so much against your opponent and pressure this expansion if you started with the 1-gate expand. But that's not going to be the case here. Oh wow, we have a really, really greedy opening. Look at this. 1-gate into expand into Stargate.
Yeah. I've seen some players do this on Pro League, and it is risky. If someone goes for a big attack with speed, you can just lose because your Voidress can't actually help defend, and the Stalker's in a lot of trouble. He only has 2 Stalkers against this many Lings.
He should
In fact, he canceled his second Stalker. He should be fine, but he's going to have to micro perfectly, and he may lose some probes here. He's going to have to pull them off at the very least.
The question is he going to see the Stargate? That's the most important part for him now.
Yeah,
he should be able to spot it. Yeah. Yes, he will.
This is a scouting move, and now that he's seen it, he's like, well, I'm just going to fight here. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't gotten any probes yet. He could have just committed to getting the probes because he's not getting out of here.
Look at how many Zerglings S2 suddenly builds. He dedicates all his lava to probes.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind gas though. He does not mind gas, but what is he going to do?
He's going to do a big speeding attack, I think. Well, now he starts 6 drones.
He starts 6 drones again. He has a lot of minerals here.
He's actually throwing way too many Lings away here. I don't like it. Like, he didn't kill a single probe, and now he's lost, I think, 20 Lings or so? No, not quite so many. Let's look at the units lost tab.
I am not quite sure how this is going to plan out, because the cannon is ready.
He's lost 12 Lings in the main.
He could have tried to pull through here, but he loses too much against Sentry. Well, he has no chance of
If there's a force field, then he's going to lose too much.
But what are you gonna do now? Are you gonna take your third without having the creep spread? It looks like it. It looks like he really wants to take the third, but
with the Stargate there, he could just kill this with one Void Ray. Would actually just kill this, just one.
Yeah,
this is a bit weird.
Well, he needs to take a few risks here. We have him supply block, third base coming up, goes into additional gas now, but he needs to do something. And the question is more like, how exactly is SOS going to play this? He's going into Phoenixes, not Void Rays, but how many will he build and how much damage can he actually do?
Yeah, and he doesn't know that this third base is out here this risky. Obviously, if he did, things would be different, but since he's not doing a Void Ray opening, the only way he's going to find out is with his Phoenixes when he flies over there.
It's a bit weird for me to see that we don't have a single Spore Crawler. We don't have the Overlords getting into a safe position.
He doesn't even have an Evo Chamber, I don't think.
Yeah. He has no Evo Chamber, there are no Spore Crawlers therefore. We have additional Queens, but the Overlords are very exposed, so him scouting the Stargate did not trigger any reaction at all.
It was almost as if he thought it was just going to be cancelled since it was seen or something. It was a little bit weird.
And finally we have the Evolution Chamber. The extra Queens are going to be helpful, of course, but he can't
fight against these Queens. He can only kill Overlords.
Yeah, there are too many. But think about how this would look if he actually had committed a little bit heavier to Phoenixes, and that's something that we have seen. We have Protoss players build 5 to 6 Phoenixes, and with those you would be in a very good spot. You could kill all the Queens most likely.
Oh, what is this? That was
bad.
That was bad. Yeah, that was bad. That was definitely bad.
That should not happen. Now he suddenly lost the ability to pick up single Queens and kill them in one.
And he starts the Void Ray too late to be able to affect the hatchery. Now the Void Ray, by the time the Void Ray gets over there, all the Queens will be at the base, so I think this is a little bit weird. This is actually, just to touch on this for a second, SOS is obviously a very good player, but the way he's playing this game is very robotic. He's like, well, now's the time where I see the base that's far away and I start the Void Ray, but it's like, well, not on this map, man, that's not going to work, sorry. And he's going to get the Void Ray over there, and maybe he's going to deny creep with it with an Observer, but if he thinks he's going to be able to damage that hatchery, he's wrong. It's way too late for that. He's just poking around with these Phoenixes now. He's going to get this Queen if he wants it. What is happening here? Alright, kill that Queen, please. What is going on? Alright, there we go.
She was begging for it.
He was like, no, this is too obvious. There must be a trap. There's got to be an infestor somewhere.
Then he looks at the time and he's like, well, probably not.
Hydralisk then goes down. This is a weird game that we're watching, man. 4 gateways as well. Looks like he wants to hit a timing at that third.
Yeah, is it going to be a Roach Hydra composition? This is something that's more going to be played in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is this gateway attack with the Immortal and the Void Ray is really good at third base, unless you go Roach Hydra. But Roach Hydra's actually really good at this, but he doesn't know that he's going for that composition. This is really strange.
There is no robotics bait. It's not like we are going to see a Colossus very soon. And here comes the Warp Prism.
He actually unpowers his own gate. I mean, that's obviously...
And supply blocks himself.
Yeah, that was obviously not as well thought out as it could have been, but he's still moving across the map with that Warp Prism coming out. I think with the Hydras, with 11 Hydras at +1 as well as range finishing up, he should be able to hold this with his Queens. If his Queens are not there, though, it's going to be a different story.
It depends on the force fields.
Yeah, and the Phoenixes are still around, don't forget, as well.
Yeah.
For a little bit longer if he doesn't micro them.
The Queens are actually... He should pick them up now. Move in, pick them up, force field, and go for it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. Here come those Phoenixes.
There's a spore. 2 spores, in fact. I like the spores here.
The spores are actually really good.
And the Hydras, they're not trapped, so they can actually do extra damage behind the force fields. They take some transfuses as well.
He could go for the third now.
Yeah, I think maybe he should. He's giving enough time for that third base to actually just continue mining and give
send the Zealot over there.
Yeah.
That one Zealot is not going to do anything.
Roach speed is getting close to being finished, adding 4 more Roaches.
That's a lot of units now for S2, but the Phoenixes are doing damage.
He cannot afford to rally his Lings in to die like that either. He's starting to lose Overlords. It's going to be supply blocked. Phoenixes alone are just killing the Overlords.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of Overlords. He has taken out another Queen, and the thing is he can't focus on the Phoenixes because the rest of the army is still there and very present. Force fields are being thrown down. No supply block for S2 just yet, but it's only a matter of time and those Phoenixes continue their kill streak.
Yeah, Hydra's in a lot of trouble here. I think that the army is just way too big for SOS now. He lost way too many units on rally, just like that Roach that blew up.
That's a 25 supply lead in army supply. Here come the drones. He's pulling them off. The force fields are really good.
Yeah,
the rest of the drones just suiciding.
Yeah.
They're just running into the stalkers. They're like, oh well, guys, I think we are too late to the party.
He wanted to fight with the Hydras, of course, but the force fields are way too good. He already eliminated the Hydras, and the drones come in uselessly, and this is game over.
This is not only the Hydras being eliminated, this is Stwo being sent back to Code B. Wounding Stars, SOS is moving in, sniping that base, and after flying already succeeded in going into round number 2.
GG.
SOS is doing the same thing. GG indeed.
What a weird game we saw. You know, I feel like there were a lot of nerves on both players going into that game, just based on some of the weird decision making we saw. But at the end of the day, the timing was good, and the force fields were what sealed the deal. If he had gotten the Hydras in, able to do the damage that Hydras can potentially do, he had the right composition. But the map is so hard to hold the third base on against an attack like that, even with Hydras.
Yeah. Well, that was a game that ended very, very quickly after this push. So a quick 2-0 for SOS, who advances to the next round, which means that we have one best of 3 left.
Yeah, it's going to be time for Hack versus True. And these two players, I think I would put Hack at highly favored. In fact, he's coming out of Code S down here into Code A. True has a lot to prove, and it's not going to be an easy match.
Hack is a player that I really like to observe. He's a player that prepares very well for his matches. He especially shines against Protoss, which is not the matchup that he has to play today. Today he has to face a Zerg player. So we are jumping into the next game, and let's have a quick look at the maps that we are having in this best of 3.
Yeah, map info here coming up. Daybreak, Icarus, and Neoplanet S, if needed, are going to be our maps. Hack, a ton of experience in StarCraft 2. This guy's been around since the beginning. Formerly playing for Zenex. It's hard to remember those days, but
it's been a while.
It certainly has.
And, well, currently we have his opponent, True. There are several Trues, so don't mix them up, guys. This is a Casper version. And, yeah, Terran versus Zerg. I'm really interested to see this game, especially since for True we haven't seen a lot of Terran matches. I'm gonna come back to that later. He has a 0% win ratio against Terran, which is because he only played one map, and that one he lost. But for Hack, this is of course the situation where he has a lot to prove. He is the player who has a lot more experience in StarCraft 2 compared to his opponent. Daybreak is going to be the first map where we usually see very long Zerg versus Terran matches.
This is Hack's worst matchup as well. So, I mean, not by far, but it's not an easy matchup for him. And this is a matchup where a lot of Terrans are struggling against Zergs right now in the final days of Winter 30.
Well, the map is loading. We're jumping into game number 1. We have now Daybreak. We have Hack versus True. Let's get things started here.